name's this is Domino, and today's topic is an intriguing one. I stumbled upon it a few days ago, which caused me to do some research and found out that there's a lot of false information and inaccurate information out there. So, without any further blabber, the intriguing topic is designer babies. I want to know which direction your moral compass points. Would you have a designer baby? Or would you stand against it? Let's start with a history lesson first. In 1866, Gregory Mendel discovered the basics of genetics by breeding pea plants. He discovered the dominant and recessive traits. He used the term invisible traits, which we now call genes. Meister? In 1869, Frederick Meister identified the nucleon, which we now call DNA, while trying to isolate the proteins in white blood cells. In the 1900s is when we start to see other scientists rediscovering Mendel's work, and that's where things start to get interesting. In 1902, Sir Edward Giffard studied the diseases passed through family history. In 1944, Oswald Avery discovered that the DNA has a transforming principle. In 1950, Erwin Kargoff discovered that DNA is different based on species. In 1952, Rosalind Franklin took an X-ray picture of DNA. In 1953, James Watson and Francis Crick discovered the double helix. In 1959, chromosome 21 is connected to Down syndrome. In 1982, the FDA approved using genetically modified human insulin, using cloning process to mass produce it. In 1987, Yoshizumi Ishizumo, did I say that right? Accidentally discovered CRISPR. In 1990, the Human Genome Project begins. In the mid-90s is when they started using cytoplastic transfer to treat infertility in women by using a third-party DNA. The long-term effects are still being studied, but the FDA has made it illegal in the United States as of 2001, but it's still legal in the United Kingdom. In 1992 is when we really started testing embryos for their genetic abnormalities. In 1994 was when the first food went on sale that had been genetically modified to have a longer shelf life by adding an extra gene that depresses the rotting enzyme. Also, in 1994, they discovered the two genes connected to breast cancer. In 1996, they cloned a sheep named Dolly. Also in 1996, the Human Genome Organization, HUGO, was formed, making findings available in the public domain. I'll link it down below. In 2003, the Human Genome Project is completed with 99% sequence and the 99.99% accuracy. In 2007, Timothy Ray Brown becomes the first person cured of HIV/AIDS through the process hematopoietic? I think I'm adding too many T's in that. Stem cell transplantation. In 2008, the development of Abixin, the first gene therapy for cancer, utilizing a form of the adenovirus to carry the replacement gene to the p53 protein. In 2014, they found that there's 100 different kinds of genes connected to schizophrenia. And in 2016, the Chinese announced that they would start treating lung cancer patients with CRISPR. In 2018, a Chinese researcher claims to have done genetic modifications on a set of twins to make them HIV resistant. The father tested positive. We've come a long way in our genetic research, and I've left a lot out because I want to get back to the topic of designer babies. The technology, if we can call it that, CRISPR, as I mentioned, was first stumbled upon in 1987. I brought visual aids. Okay, so basically how it works is we have the virus and we have the bacteria. Now the virus attacks the bacteria and hides itself in the DNA of the bacteria. Now, the bacteria has its own immune system called CRISPR. Okay? What CRISPR does is it has its own little roadmap mapped out by the RNA of the viruses that have attacked it. It follows that roadmap to where the DNA of the virus is and uses the Cas9 protein to splice it out of there. Scientists have discovered that CRISPR can be used on any kind of cell, a microorganism, an animal, a plant, or a person. It's been used to enhance the oil-eating microbes and the plastic-eating microbes to clean up our planet. They've been doing modifications to our food to make them last longer, less susceptible to diseases, grow faster, and be more nutritious. CRISPR can also be used to cure viruses like HIV and AIDS, rabies, Ebola, influenza, smallpox, or any other viruses. It can also be used to enhance the cancer-killing cells in our bodies. It can also be used to stop the aging process, or at least slow it down. Aging is basically our genes wearing down through time. What if we could stop that from happening? There are animals out there that are immune to aging. What if we use them as our template? It can also be used to prevent children from being born with genetic diseases like Huntington's disease, or the other over 3,000 genetic diseases that are only involved with one incorrect letter in our DNA. It could completely eradicate diseases from our family lines. And that leads to the question, how far is too far? If we start genetically modifying human embryos, where do we stop? How do we decide what is okay and what's not? It all sounds good to eradicate diseases, but what is the cost in doing so? Some of the arguments against designer babies sound like more of just fear of the future, fear of the human race moving forward. Like worrying that genetically modified humans will become the new normal, or that we'll lose our individuality, or that it'll become fashionable. Like what if the government starts forcing it on their people to reduce healthcare costs or make super soldiers? What if the repercussions for altering human DNA are not what we expect? What if that gene does more than what we originally thought? Will new diseases arise from doing this? But the biggest question is the ethical one. Adding in all we have to gain for the human species, is it really worth experimenting on human embryos and babies? Personally, I believe we already do this on a very small scale. We're already hardwired to find certain traits attractive. It all goes back to when we mate, we mutate. As a species, we're constantly evolving, from our size to our intelligence. We already test babies for diseases and choose to keep the child based on those factors. We'll never know the outcome for the human race until we start taking the first steps. But once we start taking those steps, where do we stop? We already have the power now to choose gender. With CRISPR, we could choose eye color, freckles, muscles, earwax. And with time, I guess anything's really possible. You know what else is possible? For you to hit like and subscribe on this video. And turn on notifications if you want to see the next one. But before you guys go, I really want to know, would you have a designer baby? Thanks for watching. For you to hit like and subscribe and share on this video. What am I doing? What am I doing here, guys? It's been enhanced. It's been enhanced. It's been enhanced. Like.